Damn it, I gotta sit in the wet spot. Gross. I've had a bad week. So the planning for this video is non-existent. Let's just sit, chat, have a little drink that my idiot cat spilled on the carpet. I almost missed my mouth. Great. Let me explain why it's a weird week. I've started doing HelloFresh. They give me 4 meals for the week, which I then use for lunch and dinner on weekdays. My preference is veggie. So I got 2 meals that had a protein. One was shrimp, the other one was a plant-based meat. I think the person packing my order was confused by the idea of veggie and having a protein. Wild, I know. So they forgot 2 meals had protein, so they forgot the protein, or they didn't put the protein in both meals. Luckily I got a credit back, but like, so that's how my week started. And honestly, that's not the big deal, right? Like you contact customer service and you deal with it. Not a big deal. But then everything else weird started happening, right? It's like the little things that make you go insane. Then my cat Molly is going through some things. She is peeing on everything because she's evil. Then Lily, I think I hear someone. Then Lily, who is the oldest cat, is 12, needs surgery. She's getting 2 teeth pulled because while she's in perfect health and her blood work came out like perfect, she's got rotten teeth and needs to pull them, so they need to do surgery. That's expensive and kind of stressful. Then I wake up in just a bad mood. I've had nightmares. Nightmares are very common for me. So I had a nightmare last night, didn't sleep super great. So I woke up cranky. And then I tried to film this in a bad mood, and as I'm filming, my cat knocks over the green liquid onto the white carpet. So I filmed this earlier and I was in a terrible mood, and it was not pretty, wasn't entertaining. So I figured, let's refilm it. Now that I've eaten something, I had Taco Bell and gotten some candy in my system just to make me feel to make me feel a little better. That's what's going on right now. I leave for Walt Disney World in a week and a half. Don't know what I'm wearing. Not gonna make a packing video because frankly, I've made 3 of them. You don't need to see another one. If you care to watch, they're up here. It's just a lot. It's going on. So that's what's going on the ranch. I'm a little crazy, but let's talk about the books I read in January or something like that, right? Right, let's do that. I have read four books? 4 books. Yes? No. How many? Start with the first one I did. I started off the year strong with a nice rom-com audiobook, and that is The Flat Share by Beth. So the story follows a man and a woman, I forget their names. Tiffy is the girl, I can't remember the man's name. Leon? Sure. Basically, my nose is so itchy, I apologize. It happens. There's like a fuzzy on it. So Tiffy and Leon end up sharing a flat or an apartment if you're not British. They share an apartment, but they have opposite schedules, so they like end up sharing the bed. It's like a twist on the one bed trope. So Tiffy has the apartment at night and on weekends because she has a regular 9 to 5. And then Leon works in a hospice-esque situation. So he works nights and weekends. So they never really interact. Basically, when they have their little meeting, they fall in love. It's a cute little rom-com. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. Gave it like a 4.25 on the story graph, which is how I track my books. Let me know if you would like to see all of my reading stats. More than happy to go over that with you guys. Read that, super cute, 4.25. And then I think I've mentioned this like 4 times now in my last 2 videos, but then I read a little quick, this is like 100 pages barely. This is Hang Up Your Hang-Ups, A Radical Guide to Healing Yourself Through Personal Style by Payton Dale. I will leave a link to this book in the description. It's on Amazon only. But I found this stylist on TikTok, and she talks a lot about how essentially you'll be able to dress the way you want and feel confident in yourself if you like heal all of the horrible things that like people tell you about your body in your brain. And it's like, it's awesome. Honestly, it's like a little workbook. There's like little activities about like, list all the things that you hate about yourself, then list up like why they're actually good. So like, I have really thick thighs. My thighs are really strong. Stuff like that. Kind of changing your thinking about your body. She also is, you don't need to buy this book to hear her advice. Like I said, she's on TikTok. That's where I found her. Her style skews very similar to mine, where it's a bit 70s inspired, but she really does well with other styles as well. She's really cool. I will, like I said, links in the description for her stuff. Then I read The Midnight Library by Haig. This is a book talk favorite. People seem to really like it. I'm in the middle on it. I have mixed feelings. Let me tell you the plot before I explain why I thought it was middle of the road. This woman, Nora, has a lot of regrets in her life and things just didn't go as she wanted them to be. So she decides she no longer wants to be alive, and in between life and death, she finds herself in a library. And in this everlasting library, there are books and books and books forever, right? Never ending. So each book is another outcome that her life could have been had she decided that she wanted to stay alive, or if she had done something differently in her past, where she would be at that moment. And she has all of these different options, and she has to find the one where she is the happiest. I think that there was a lot of good stuff in this book about mental health, but I think the pacing overall was weird. Like, I don't necessarily love fast-paced books because I think it skips over a lot of like good stuff, or the author, which I think happened in this book, wrote themselves into a hole where they were like, okay, I need to speed this up to get to the next major plot point. So that was my problem with it. But I do think there are some good quotes about mental health in here and healing, how you live with the things that you didn't do, and overall just the option to like keep going, which is really good. I do think the first 20 pages can be a little triggering. They are like, my heart was racing, like I almost put the book down. But once you get past those first 20 pages, and like, this is a big font book, doesn't look it, but pretty big font, like and as you can see, most of the pages, like, it's quick. So once you get past those, you get into like the meat of the story, and it's not, I don't want to say can't be triggering, because that's not fair to say, but it should be all right. Again, look up content warnings. If I'm ever recommending a book or talking about a book, just check your content warnings. So I feel middle of the road based on the pacing about this, and just overall, like, I'm at a different point in my life. I'm very much so past the point of feeling like that. I'm trying to be sensitive in the way that I describe this, and I think I'm failing. So please bear with me. I apologize. Basically, I am very proud to say and happy to say that I am past the point where this book, I think, could be critical for me to read. Like I said, good stuff in there. Pacing was a little off. But if you're just beginning to deal with your mental health issues, I think that this could be helpful. And if you're a little more into it, I think you can appreciate it for what it is, but you might not hold it super near and dear. But I know a lot of people that really loved it, so that's for you to decide with this one. Next, I went the fantasy route. I reviewed this on my Instagram, TikTok, not Twitter. I also posted this actually on my YouTube channel. It was a minute book review. Let me know if you guys like those. But this is The Hazelwood. This is the one I finished, but this I read like a year ago. It was recommended by my coworker, Kate. It is a story of Alice. Her mother gets kidnapped. She has to find her with the help of her classmate, Ellery Finch. When Alice's mother is kidnapped, she leaves a note saying, stay away from the Hazelwood, which happens to be her grandmother's estate. Ellery Finch is a fan of her grandmother, who is like this cult classic author who writes these dark, twisted fairy tales. And then when they enter the Hazelwood, Alice learns things about herself that she didn't think were possible, didn't think were true. It is a story about breaking cycles, and you don't have to be what your family or what the world has set out for you to be. You can make your own decision about who you are. That's what this is about. This is more or less the same thing. A lot of this, I'm trying not to spoil that one while talking about the second one. Basically, we're dealing with the novels that Alice's grandmother had written, and they're in that fantasy world, and it's kind of decide who you want to be, right? That's what it is, and you make your own fate. That's the crux of these stories. I don't want to tell you too much about them. Again, check content warnings. They're very gross. There are multiple times in both of these books where I found myself going, gross. Like, they are definitely like the Grimm fairy tales. I don't think I have a copy of them. No, I've got Edgar Allan Poe instead of Grimm fairy tales. So I highly recommend it. If you like fairy tales, if you like fantasy, this was a great one to pick up. Then I also read a second book in a duology. This is, if you guys know and you've watched my channel before, you know how I feel about the Grishaverse and Shadow and Bone. Video up here where I talk about the book versus the TV show. The TV show is better than the book. I'm just gonna say it. I love that show when it came out in May of last year, April or May of last year. I watched it 3 times. I love it. I have a t-shirt that has the Darkling on it. Like, I think it's fantastic. So I read Six of Crows in June or July of last year, and I'm finally getting around to Crooked King. Oh my God. I'm finally getting around to Crooked Kingdom, which is the second book in the Six of Crows duology. Then after that, I have like the 2 filler books, and then I'm on to the King of Scars duology. So it's all part of this one Grishaverse world. But let me actually describe the Six of Crows duology for you in simple terms. 2 books, 6 teenagers, 1 heist for 30 million Kruga, which is the money system, and some shenanigans happen. It's really interesting plot, but I would say more interesting than the plot is the backstories of these 6 teenagers. They're very complex. Again, check trigger warnings. There are things of sexual assault, being sold into, essentially human trafficking for one of the characters in Edge. Addiction and like just a lot goes down. They are wonderfully complex characters. I highly recommend it, but if something could be just upsetting to you for whatever reason, please check it out. However, these are young adult books, so I don't think that there's anything too horrific to really warn about. I just think that if that's something that bothers you, be aware of it. But I highly recommend this one. I am about how many pages away? So I'm on page, well, I'm listening to the audiobook for this one, so I'll finish it today while I'm working. But I'm on page 412 out of, I think I have over 100 pages. Yes. I have about 120 pages. Yeah, about 120 pages left. So I'll finish the audiobook today because there's about 3 hours left on that one. I love the Grishaverse. I think it's fantastic. You don't necessarily need to read Shadow and Bone to understand Six of Crows. However, I will say there are some characters that show up that are very prevalent in the Shadow and Bone trilogy, and if you want to like understand what they are before the book tells you who they are, you can read it, but watch the TV show, you'll get it just as much. It's such a good show. It actually has the Six of Crows characters in the TV show when they're not in the original book trilogy. And what the reason I picked it up again after not reading the second one immediately after Six of Crows is because production has started on season 2 and I can't wait. I love it. That's where I am with the books. And then I'm in the middle. I don't understand why I struggle so hard with nonfiction. I want to be better about it, but I'm about 3 pages into A History of the World in 6 classes. They are talking about beer in essentially, I think, is it ancient Mesopotamia? I see we're paying very close attention. In ancient Mesopotamia, Egypt. For my Disney people, the story of this book is essentially if the narration of Spaceship Earth met with the narration of Living with the Land, because it talks about the plants that were used to create these beverages for people. So very, very Epcot. It's not that it's bad, it's just that it's dense. But this is by Tom Standage, and it is interesting. I'm just dragging my feet. I also am like so deep in fantasy. Again, my favorite genre is fantasy, so I'm so deep in that's what I'm paying attention to. But I can't start another book until I get at least halfway through this one. But let me show you what I want to pick up for February. I've got three that I want to pick up for February. Oh, they're across the room. I was not prepared. Fuck. I'm gonna go get them. Let me get up. I'm sitting in the wet spot. My legs are damp. Ew. Am I okay? February to be read. Here are my 4 options that I've set forth for myself. Whether or not I stick to this TBR remains to be seen. First one is a Valentine's Day read, essentially. This is The Lovely War by Julie Berry. It's the story of 4 women during World War II and their relationships, but it's told from, like, the narrator is Aphrodite, excuse me. So Aphrodite is narrating the story of these 4 women as they navigate love in World War II. Sounds kind of interesting. The next one is also a Valentine's Day read, very different Valentine's Day read. This is a book talk favorite. This is from Blood and Ash. As you can see over here, I have A Court of Thorns and Roses. This is like the same but different. People prefer this one mostly because SJM is problematic, which I get. People like this one from Blood and Ash by JLA. So if you know, you know. It's fairies. It's a, what is the, I hate naming conventions, but the internet calls it romantasy, which makes, hate it. but it's a romance fantasy. There's fairies, there's strong-willed women, so I'm gonna like it. I am a huge fan of diversifying your bookshelf. I mean, you can't see, but my top shelf is mostly own voice stories. They always have, my bookshelf is actually color-coded, so the red, orange, and yellow books are usually, I don't know why they pick that color, but are usually the BIPOC voices. And since February is Black History Month, I figured I would pick one up because that's what you do, but it also is important to read them year round. But here's my February Black History Month pick. This is The Vanishing Half by Brit, Bennett, and let me read the synopsis for you so I do it properly. The Vine sisters will always be identical, but after growing up together in a small southern Black community and running away at age 16, it's not just the shape of their daily lives that is different as adults, it's everything, including their racial identity. Many years later, one sister lives with her Black daughter in the same southern town she once tried to escape. Across the country, the other secretly passes for white, and her white husband knows nothing of her past. Still, although separated by so many miles and just as many lies, the fates of the twins remain intertwined. What will happen when their own daughter's storylines intersect, weaving together multiple strands and generations, from the deep South to California, from the 1950s to the 1990s? The Vanishing Half is at once a riveting emotional family story and a brilliant exploration of race, gender, and identity. The lasting influence of the past as it shapes a person's desires and expectations. I've had this sitting on my, I'm so bad about buying books and then letting them sit. I've had this since March or April of last year, and like I said, I read so much fantasy last year. I need to read. If I'm gonna read fiction, I should read something that educates me just a little bit. Vanishing Half, I also love the spine. I think it's a beautiful color, so I'm very excited to pick this up. This takes priority over the Valentine's Day reads. And then, why am I out of breath? Ugh, this is what today is. I had so much caffeine because I had a Baja Blast and matcha tea, so my heart is like pitter-pattering away. The last book that I'm gonna try and get to eventually, it's a lot of romance. Maybe. These are all maybes, but they all are within the I might read this in February. Ghost by Dolly Alderson. It's another rom-com, I believe. It is about a millennial and there's the edges, they're not scalloped, they're the deckled ones. You can't tell the texture of those, but it's not smooth. Anyway, it's about a millennial trying to find her way in the world. So, you know, I like it. The cover's got millennial pink. This just screams like Tumblr aesthetic to me, and I like it. Like I said it in my last video, long live millennial pink. Long live millennial pink. That's all I gotta say. White spine. That's my white shelf. Behind me, I don't have a lot. That's a lot of books. I hope you enjoyed this. I just want to say, if you have clicked on my video, whether it be recently or in the past and you're seeing me again, thank you for watching. Thank you so much for watching or interacting with this video, even if it's a thumbs up. I love talking to you guys. So if I see comments, I'm very quick to respond. Now I'm gonna ask you to do something for me. So if you could please click the subscribe button, it means so much to me, and I appreciate every single click of that and every single view and and comment. And speaking of comments, I would also like you to tell me what you're reading. Actually, you know what? We're gonna do some camp counselor stuff. We're gonna do powwow chow. So tell me something that sucked this month, something that was awesome this month, and the best thing you ate. So if you could leave that in the comments for me, that would be greatly appreciated, and the subscribe button and everything. So yes, thank you so much for watching. I will leave my powwow chow in the comments as well. So goodbye. Oh, this has been a mess. This has been a mess brought to you by me and my peanut M&Ms. Oh, I can't see. Olivia, turn the camera off.